On this episode,
I signed a 7-year contract to be Mrs. Brady. And the Friday before shooting Monday, all the little girls were chosen to look like me. And I went in Friday to show the wardrobe. For 2 weeks, a limousine arrived at the front door. All the neighbors looked out their window. And I got in the limousine, drove off, went to all the best shops in Beverly Hills.
from the coveted corner booth in a little bar in the center of the Coachella Valley Universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence. Gentlemen,
welcome to another edition of Big Conversations Little Bar. My name is Patrick Evans, and I'm joined by my co-host, my weekly steadfast, almost irreplaceable co-host, Randy Florence.
Almost. God, 1 week we're going to not have that word in there.
I know, I felt like the qualifier was necessary. Yep. It is so nice to be back here at Skip Paige's Little Bar, the center of the Coachella Valley Universe and home of the best $10 cheeseburger.
It's $11 cheeseburger.
I guarantee it's the best $11 cheeseburger. And we're just delighted to have everybody join us. I'm especially excited about today's guest because she's been a friend for a long time. She's one of the most familiar voices you're ever going to hear and one of the most familiar faces you're ever going to see. So I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with Joyce Bulifant. Joyce, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I love this place. I haven't been here.
I'm already so thrilled to just have you sitting across from me. This is really cool. Thanks for being here.
I'm happy to be. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, this is a really cool little place. Skip Paige, who owns the bar, kind of made it the way he wanted to. And it's not for business. It's not for profit. Somebody came in one day and they were at the bar and they asked for something out of the menu and somebody said, we're out of it. And they got kind of upset, and he looked at him and said, well, you should have been here earlier.
I like it.
So that tells you everything you need to know about Little Bar.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at all the wallpaper with all the wonderful things.
These are all the shows that Skip produced or was a part of when he was at Golden Voice, which, created Coachella and Stagecoach. He was one of the bigwigs and really the inventor of the big music festival here in Southern California.
Wow, that's a big deal.
So he produced, and if you go into the restroom, he has blown up versions of all of the tickets of all of the events that he went to over the years.
Should record from in there.
It may be the next stop. It may be the next stop. Thank goodness we have a fantastic guest because, it's keeping the quality of the podcast up.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
you invited Joyce. Let's get us started.
Okay. Well, I did invite Joyce because now I've had the pleasure of having Joyce on Eye on the Desert many times. But I've actually had a chance to perform on stage with you.
Yes, I love that.
Man.
I didn't want to sing by myself. So I asked Patrick to sing with me. He's really good.
Mediocre at best, but...
what did you sing?
Well, we're doing the song, Hey Old Friend.
We're going to sing for Tools Tomorrow event, which is February 26th.
But we sang at some event, and I don't remember, was it I'll Be Seeing You? I think it was I'll Be Seeing You.
It may be.
We did that
I
once.
think it was.
But we did a terrific show that your late husband Roger wrote.
And you know what? We're going to do a full production of it this Christmas coming. Isn't that exciting?
Tell people about that show.
Well, what can I tell you about it? It was, Roger and I did every two-character play that you can possibly do. And every two-character
love letters.
And it was all to raise money for an advocacy center for abused children in Colorado. And after 6 years, we raised enough money, and the county built us a building.
Wow.
And it's grown, so it's called the River Bridge in Colorado. And so we ran out of two-character plays. So there's an old hotel called the Hotel Colorado. And it has the most incredible history of people staying there. It was a summer White House for Teddy Roosevelt.
Wow.
The teddy bear, the name for the teddy bear happened there with a story around that. Al Capone stayed there. Molly Brown stayed there. Tom Mix stayed there. And this is a play. We always would go there and we'd say, this hotel has such history, such a story, what it's been through. It was a hotel for the rich and famous from Aspen to go into the springs there, the hot springs there. And then it evolved and it became a military hospital at one time. Then it was a school at one time, back to a hotel.
What a history.
That plus all the famous people that stay there. So I don't know how this happened, but in a summer, Roger wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics and the book, and it was pretty good, huh?
And we're talking about your late husband, Roger Perry, who was a sweetheart.
Yes.
Loved Roger. But yeah,
I loved him more.
But he was such a treasure. And I did not realize when I first got involved in doing that. What is the full title of the play?
It's the Grand Old Dame. Because that was the nickname for the hotel, Grand Dame.
It sounds like there ought to be a documentary about that hotel.
Oh, yeah. Well, come see the show.
I plan on seeing the show.
The show really kind of goes through the history, but it's a full-blown musical. And Roger wrote all of the music, and I had no idea how so talented he was. And then Joyce writes all the lyrics, and the songs are fantastic. It's a great show. But it was like a real treasure to actually appear on stage with you because, of course, I grew up watching you on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
You know, I'm tired of these old people coming up saying, I watched you when I was a little kid. They come up with a gray beard and they say, I watched you when I was a little kid.
I got to scratch out a few of my questions here.
One of my favorite things to do, this is a silly thing, but I'm sitting at home and Joyce will be on any number of different frequently it's Airplane. And I'll take a quick picture of Joyce in Airplane and send it to her and say, I'm watching you on Airplane.
Oh, but I did not want to do that movie.
Why did you not want to do Airplane?
Are you kidding me?
Well, let's get into it.
I got the script. And I said, this doesn't make any sense.
It looked like an immediate Oscar winner, right?
No, I didn't think so. I said, there are people coming down the baggage claim. I'm telling my then number 3 husband, I'm telling him, William Asher was a big producer, writer, and director. And I said, honey, this doesn't make any sense. People are coming down the baggage. The plane goes through one gate to the next gate to the next gate. And the taxis are going up. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't want to do it. He said, you're an actress, you act. So he was right. I mean, you do what you're given, and I did. And during the shooting, we were going up and down the aisles saying to each other, do you think this is funny?
And what did you think when you saw the final product?
Howard Koch, who was the producer, his wife, Ruth Koch, we commiserated with the idea that we didn't think it was very funny. And for the screening, we sat next to each other, and we were going, oh, this is going to be a disaster. Oh, my God, it's so embarrassing. And after 2 seconds of the film, people were falling on the floor laughing.
I was one of them.
Isn't it amazing what you don't know?
That movie, I mean, and I love Leslie Nielsen, and he was such a great serious actor, and then he delved in, and he had such great comedic timing,
didn't he?
And wit.
Yeah.
Well, and you think about the lines from that movie that people are still using today. I mean, don't call me Shirley.
I know.
You know,
I know.
I can't look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar anymore without laughing.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
I'm sure. I'll tell him that. Yes.
But you also look at, I mean, you're in the film. The gal who plays your daughter was on the Love Boat.
Isn't that funny? And she played my daughter in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. No, on the airplane. Sorry.
Yes.
And Gavin's daughter
on the Love Boat.
On the Love Boat. And we played husband and wife on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Oh, it's so incestuous.
Was that the only time that you and Gavin played husband and wife? I didn't think it was. It may have been theater.
I think it was.
Oh,
yeah, it was. Yeah, that's funny. We were just such good friends.
Yeah. You guys were very close.
Yeah.
And he was, talk about a dear, sweet human being.
Oh, my gosh. You know, when I was in Colorado when I heard he went on to hospice, and I flew immediately, and he was in a hospital, just that first day in a hospital bed with Patty, his wife, in their apartment. And I leaned over the bed and gave him a kiss on the forehead. And he started, well, we did work together in the play that Roger and I wrote.
Right.
And he started singing the song that he sings to me in the play. And it was very moving.
He was such a sweet man.
Let's, if you don't mind, I mean, for everybody, I'm fanning out right now, I just have to say, because I've known you from TV and the movies and The Voice, and I know that there's people listening to this right now that are saying, I know that voice. Let's talk about the beginning. What got you into acting at the very beginning?
This is going to sound corny as all get out, probably, but actually, to be very honest, I was in foster care off and on growing up, and one year I got to live with my mother in 3rd grade in Jacksonville, Florida, and nearby there was an orphanage, and I used to take my comic books and bubble gum. I couldn't read because I was dyslexic, but I looked at pictures, and I take them over there and give them to the kids, and I was just 9 years old, and they'd say thanks, and I thought, gosh, if I could be an actress, like one of those people like Margaret O'Brien or Jane Powell, you probably don't know who they are.
Well, Randy does.
Right.
Jane Powell and I dated for a while.
Wow.
But if I could be like that and take my books and bubble gum, then they'd really be excited. And a big push, besides loving to go into a make-believe world, was to be able to give back, and it's happened, and I mean, how wonderful in my lifetime to be able to accomplish that goal.
That's fantastic.
But I mean, it does sound really corny, but that really is the reason.
Well, I suspect a lot of entertainers, there's something in the deep past that kind of drove them there. I mean, Patrick had a lot of problems early on.
Oh, he still does.
I've still got a lot. The words right out of my mouth.
The weather, so.
What was one of your very first acting gigs that sort of put you on track?
Put me on track to more success? Or,
yeah.
That's an interesting question. I think I graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I right away went into a Broadway play in a small role, and then I did a series for David Susskind with Juicy Well and Don Amici and Polly Rolls.
Don Amici. That's a name from the past.
How old am I?
I know you were a child when you worked with Don Amici.
I mean, right out of the nursery into fast children.
And Don was already 72.
So that sort of propelled that, and then I did something called Naked City, and then.
But wait a minute.
Yes.
You danced with Arthur Murray for 10 years.
Oh, I did that too. Not for 10 years though.
No.
But that was to make money for my upkeep going through the American Academy. And I danced not with him, but I was an Arthur Murray dancer in the background. And I would waltz around. And I loved that at the old Ziegfeld Theater, which isn't there anymore. And I do remember my to-be mother-in-law was Helen Hayes. And she said, Joyce, I can't see you dancing in the background. And we're going to go shopping. I'm going to get you an evening gown that I will be able to see you. Well, everybody wore pastel colors in the background because Arthur and Catherine Murray were in the front as the dancers whirled around the back, right? Helen bought me a beautiful dotted Swiss white background with giant orange, red, and blue flowers on it. And I put it on proudly, and at the end of the show, Catherine and Arthur Murray came and said, Miss Bulifant, may we speak with you? And I said, yes. You're never to wear that dress again. That's all anyone could see whirling around behind us.
Nobody's looking at the stars.
I was whirling around in my new dress.
So, I mean, she was theater royalty.
Yes, yeah.
And you married James, her son, who was best known, I would say, as Dano on Hawaii Five-0. And I got a chance to meet him. He lived out here.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Later in his life.
We lived within spitting distance.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, spitting is a good thing.
I'm not going to ask any further questions.
Stone's throw.
That's better.
But you guys were married for 10 years.
9.
But who's counting?
Give or take, I was.
Apparently. But that must have, I mean, you're breaking into theater, but here your mother-in-law is this larger-than-life figure in theater. Was that a plus or a minus?
Oh, I don't think it was either, really, because I looked at her strictly as Mrs. MacArthur, and that's what she wanted to be. And I would go to Nyack, where they lived, Charles MacArthur and Helen Hayes together in Nyack, New York, on the weekends. I was in boarding school. Jimmy was in boarding school. We met when we were 14. And he was a perfect jerk. More jerk than perfect, actually.
That's a great line.
Since we've touched on the subject, let's just dive right in. You wrote a book called My 4 Hollywood Husbands.
Isn't that embarrassing?
So you've been married before.
That is so...
Well, I didn't pick the title.
I love weddings. I really do. And I wanted to go to bed with these men, so I had to marry them. That's what you did.
Well, now never mind.
Well, that's what I did. I was very square. I'm still square. I don't get very far these days. But actually, I had back surgery, and I had 2 rods put in and 8 screws, and I figured it's one way to get screwed when you're 86.
When was the last time? Just last week.
It was my orthopedist. But
there's going to be so many rumors coming out of this podcast.
Sorry. Oh, no, the title was not my fault. The title was absolutely not my fault.
Your publisher picked the title.
No. Actually, it was going to be called Home Sweet Home, Where Is It? Because when I was 50, I sat down at the kitchen table and I thought, I'm going to think about how many places I've lived. And I had lived in 50 places in 50 years.
Wow.
I don't want to tell you how many I've lived at this point, but a lot more. And so the idea was Home Sweet Home, Where Is It? And that was going to be the book. And it was going to be very detailed about the homes I lived. I have incredible recall for things like that, to detail. And then I got a call one day from a friend who's an author, and he said, Joyce, I have the title for your book. And I said, what? He said, My 4 Hollywood Husbands. I said, Bruce, that is disgusting. I would never, ever, ever title a book. I mean, I can't think of anything more tacky. And I hung up, and I thought, it might sell books. so now I thought, if I'm going in that direction, then I'm going to try to have it help people who've been through what I've been through, which was alcoholism. And I was a codependent person and just fed into that disease like sugar. I did all the wrong things. And it wasn't until Mariette Hartley gave me a book called The Co-Alcoholic, and each page as I turned it, I went, oh, that's me. Oh, I do that. Oh, my, look at that. And I realized that I was part of the problem.
How did you feel when she gave you the book? Did you feel like you needed it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She knew one of my husbands. This was the second husband. And she knew, she had been down that road. Yeah. So she knew. I mean, that was really the most helpful book I ever read. I didn't get the message that the student wasn't ready when the teacher appeared until much later, until a lot of actually putting myself away in a rehab for 30 days, learning not to be codependent. But it was really for people who were drug addicts and alcoholics. But I got myself in a bad situation, and I said, I need help. This is ridiculous.
Well, how amazing that you recognized that you did it, because that doesn't happen all the time.
Well, that's true, but it's hard. It's a hard one, being codependent, because you think you're being a good person, and I understand, and, oh, that's okay. Oh, you want to treat me like that and then be mean to the children? Oh, that's all right. And tomorrow will be better. Everything was tomorrow will be better. And I understand. So you think you're being a good person. And I think my ego was so big that I thought, oh, they're so unhappy. That's why they drink. But if I love them, they'll be fine, You
constantly want to fill that void.
Yeah.
And it's impossible for any person to do that.
Absolutely.
Do you think some of that might have been formed based on because of being a foster child?
It could very well be, and maybe my love for working with children. And I mean, every child I see on the street, I want to stop and say, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?"
And then they go, "Hey, weren't you in Airplane?"
Exactly. Exactly. No, I can't walk by a child without this.
I can see
and sometimes I even see babies who look at me like they recognize another baby. You know?
Oh, that's great.
It just, I don't know. I love them, and I remember one time in therapy, the therapist said, "You think you're a good person, don't you?" And I said, "Well, I try to be." She said, "All those children that you want to make sure are okay, they just represent you." And I thought, well, okay, but I'm still trying to be good.
Still trying to be good.
Am I still allowed to be good?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, I think it's also remarkable that you were able to take obviously very difficult experiences and put together a book that pulls the positives and can help point people in the right direction.
Hopefully.
You know,
I get comments from people that are like that. Thank you. I mean, even if it's a relationship with a friend or a partner, not necessarily a husband or a wife, but that makes me feel it was worth naming it my four Hollywood husbands. And then what's weaving through the story is my love story with Roger.
Yes.
And that is what was great when it switched to my four Hollywood husbands. I had to rewrite it and give it a different bent. And Roger at the time was going through radiation in L.A. And I never look at a blank page. You know, I just blah, 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 blah. And he finally said, "Hey," just like I talk, you know, just blah, blah, blah. And he has to come and drag me and say, "You got to eat now. You got to take a break." But he got to read each page as I redid it with the love story that I had for him.
That had to be so special.
Well, it was for me because he got to see it in writing.
That's pretty special when it's down on paper.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. You want to continue on this?
You go right ahead. I'm curious where you're going to take us.
So am I. Where am I going to go?
I'm more curious.
Well, I want to get back to the things that I'm fanning out about with you and go back to kind of some of the TV. So one of the things that I had read is that you almost were Mrs. Brady.
I was.
You were Mrs. Brady.
I signed a 7-year contract to be Mrs. Brady. And the Friday before shooting Monday, all the little girls were chosen to look like me. And I went in Friday to show the wardrobe. For 2 weeks, a limousine arrived at the front door. All the neighbors looked out their window. And I got in the limousine, drove off, went to all the best shops in Beverly Hills, was completely wardrobed for the show. And it was I had to lose 5 pounds. They said that I needed to lose 5 pounds, which hurt my feelings, but they were right, especially for television. So there's a lady named Louise Long, and Jane Fonda happened to be there. Sorry, Jane, if you don't want people to know, but anyway, you were there with me. And we get beaten up by this big lady would beat the hell out of you. You were black and blue, and then she put these little things on your body that went, you went like that. And you could only eat scrambled eggs and tomatoes. That was it. And I lost 5 pounds, and I was really sore. But anyway, so I did everything they asked. Then I'm showing them the wardrobe. And I came out and I said, "Now this is the dress she wears for the wedding, the garden wedding." And the producer, Sherwood Schwartz, and the director were sitting there. And they went, well, they like it, I guess. And I walked back and I said, "And this is a going away suit she wears." And I came out, And I thought, this is weird. Usually they say, "I try a scarf. What about different earrings? I don't like the shoes. You know, do you have another suit?" Nothing. The third outfit I put on, I came out and I sat down. I didn't sit down. Yeah, he says, "Is something wrong?" And they said, "Sit down." And I said, "What is it?" They said, Marty Starger, never forget his name. Marty Starger at ABC in New York wants Florence Henderson to do it. She just became available. He thinks you look too young, and Florence is just got off a big movie and blah, 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 blah. And we're trying to convince him that if she does it, it'll be the Donna Reed show. If you do it the way we wrote it, it's the Lucy show. And if you don't do it, then we have to change the housekeeper because she was a straight person to you're funny. And we're working on it. Trust me, we are on the phones and we'll know tonight. What do you say? Okay.
Marty.
Right? Okay. So, do
Damn
you
Marty.
know that...
I never liked Marty.
Never
well,
liked
but
Marty.
I did get a lead in a series that he did later.
Well, eventually I liked Marty.
Oh, Marty redeemed himself.
Right. But you know how sweet Sherwood Schwartz was, who did Gilligan's Island?
He did Gilligan's Island, yeah.
He came to the house to tell me.
Oh.
He did not call. And he was so sad about it because that's not the show he wrote. So they
Right. He had a vision,
Yeah.
and you were part of that vision.
Exactly. And he said, no matter what show, the next show I do, you will be in. And I said, that's nice. And I've always felt that if you don't get something, it's because you wasn't meant to be. I'm a big believer in that. And I also, it turned out to be great for everybody. And Florence is a sweet, wonderful lady, she was. And it turned out great. And then the next show that Sherwood did was called Big John, Little John, that I did with Herb Edelman, which played in England, funny enough. And it was more of a children's Saturday show. But he put me in it. And you know what they gave me? Because I had the 7-year contract, they gave me the going away suit. I thought that was very appropriate.
Did they pay you?
Yeah. No.
No. But you got a suit.
Florence,
So it's not really
I
a
got
contract,
suit.
right?
I got a suit. That Florence and I had the same agent.
Oh, that happens a lot. I mean, at my lowly state in our industry, I have known where local TV talent gets replaced by someone who's represented by the same person. It's kind of a cutthroat, nasty part of the business.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Very.
really, it's not pleasant. When I was, we were having a brunch to plan the Tools for Tomorrow event, and I got to be in your office,
Yeah.
and you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of great photographs. Just up on the wall, which I took pictures of. I hope
You
you don't mind.
did?
Oh yeah, I was like,
Did you? I'm going to sue your ass.
No, I didn't see any of those pictures.
well, there's great
Next
pictures of
week I
you
might
on the
have
cover of
another
TV
co-host.
Guide, but there's you did an awful lot of theater, and I would assume that a lot of that was overlapping. You did theater and television. Which did you prefer doing? And I feel like it's theater.
It is.
Yeah.
And you wrote a kind of an autobiographical play, didn't you?
I did?
Did you? What was
I did too.
Life Upon the Wicked
You're right, I did.
Stage? Let me tell you what you did in your career.
Thank you. I am amazed sometimes.
You were amazing.
No, I look and I say, I did that? I don't think I did Kill Deer, and that keeps showing up and I don't remember it at all. But I'll be watching television at night if I can't sleep, turn it on a minute and I go, I'm having deja vu. I have been in that room before, and then I come walking into the frame.
Oh, there's me. That's got to be
So
kind of
weird.
odd.
It is odd.
Not expecting to see yourself come across
and
the...
I don't remember any of the plot or anything.
Well, they must have all worked out because you kept getting work.
Well, I kept getting stayed alive too. didn't get killed,
Why is theater your preference?
Like being with you here, it's the feedback from the audience, and that just buoys, like I'm doing the right thing. You know right away. That worked. Or that timing didn't work that night. I'm gonna try. It's always an adventure.
Yeah,
when
the
you
immediate feedback.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's terrific. That's what I loved when I worked in the ER at Eisenhower, and I was a volunteer. I don't hear very well, and the first day I was very proud because I had a blue blazer on and I had my white slacks and my badge and everything. I could push a button and walk in. I didn't have to check in with anyone. And And the immediate gratification was that people coming in who were frightened, if you just held their hand a minute and said, tell me about yourself and not to worry, and you could see the blood pressure just go down like that. And that's immediate gratification. And you get that with an audience. But the reason I brought up not hearing, it brought to mind the very first day in my beautiful blazer and badge, I walked into this elderly lady, probably younger than I am, and I said, is there anything that I could get for you? Would you like another pillow, a blanket, orange juice, anything? She said, I need you to pay my bill. And I said, oh, I am so terribly sorry, but I can't pay your bill. She said, what? I said I need a pain pill. So that was my first day. It was downhill from there. It really was.
You've done an awful lot of philanthropic work here in the Valley, and obviously in Colorado, founding the center that you founded. But talk a little bit about the work, Tools for Tomorrow, which we worked on together.
What we're doing.
We are doing,
Talk about doing philanthropic work. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Well, thank you for throwing a song at me that I don't know.
Thank God. We don't have to hear Summer Wind again?
Not only a song that I don't know, but it's not the easiest tune in the world. It's just like, and I got to come in the middle, like, it's good.
You'll be great.
We'll be fine.
Always are. But you do incredible things for people in the Valley and all the charities. I just love you, Patrick.
Well, the feeling is mutual.
Here's next week's co-host.
Actually, Joyce was.
I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I'm sure you're good too, Randy.
Joyce is too busy to be the co-host. Otherwise,
you would have already asked.
Yes, you would have been the guest, Randy. It would have been nice. Joyce did get mad at me once, though.
I did? What'd you do?
I mean, it was faux mad, but so Joyce was coming. In fact, I think it was with Gavin MacLeod, and you guys were coming on Eye on the Desert, maybe to talk about the play, but I don't think so. I think it was before that. But Joyce walked in with her husband, Roger Perry, and Roger was a guest star on one of the greatest Star Trek episodes ever made. And Joyce has already dropped 2 Star Trek names because Mariette Hartley was also
I remember that.
But so I was just immediately enthralled, and I run over and I'm just yammering, and Roger's just like, seriously, it was one episode, he's just like, really. And finally, Joyce tapped me on the shoulder. She goes, I think I'm here to be the guest.
I wasn't mad. I just wanted to put you straight.
You were on television at a time when a lot of people were crossing over to shows, different shows. Everybody was on the Love Boat at some point or another, and
I wasn't.
And everybody but you, but almost everybody you've mentioned today at one point was on the Love Boat.
You never did a Love Boat?
I was asked to, but I was too busy doing another show. So Helen Reddy did it.
Well, thank goodness it wasn't Florence Henderson.
Wasn't.
But one of the other things that a lot of folks in TV at that point were doing were game shows.
Really?
And you were on
They did?
Yes. Can you believe it? I don't know if you know, but you were on the Match Game.
Oh, I think I remember that one.
So what was it
Please
like?
tell me that Gene Rayburn was a great guy.
Yes.
Because I really always wanted to grow up to be Gene Rayburn.
Oh, well.
No, he wasn't a great guy?
No, Gene was his own special person.
I think that says everything. All right, Charles Nelson Riley.
Love Charles. Oh, my God. Talk about talent and timing and funny. The dinner hour was hysterical. I mean, he just was on a roll every night.
When you guys were doing shows like that, did you have writers feeding you, or were you guys?
No, and that's what made it so good.
Because it's brilliant.
So with Hollywood Squares, they're given lines. A lot of the game shows are given lines. But that's what was so good, because it was the impromptu, the things came out of your mouth that shouldn't have, especially mine. And,
well, and something inappropriate is just funnier coming out with that soft, sweet, angelic voice.
Betty White said, when I tell a naughty joke, it sounds like a nursery rhyme. So I get to tell a lot of naughty jokes.
You were on what I believe is one of the most unappreciated comedies in the history of television.
Love Thy Neighbor.
Just Shoot Me.
Oh, yeah.
But I can go back to Love Thy Neighbor.
Oh, God, I love doing that show, Love Thy Neighbor. And it was fun doing Just Shoot Me, and had it continued, I would have been on it.
Yeah, it was such a great show, and there were some really good people on that. David Spade, was it George Siegel?
George Siegel was the publisher of the magazine.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Yeah, that was fun. It was, I hadn't done television for a while when I did it. Things had changed so much. I remember at the end of a scene, they said, okay, hit the rails. And I said, hit the rails? We going to church to pray? What are we doing?
Are we catching a train? What's the story?
I know. So there were all of the writers/producers lined up at the bottom of the bleachers where there was a railing. And you would go to each one, and they'd each give you a note. Now, from the theater, I was brought up that the director's word is God. You don't listen to anybody. You don't listen to mother. You don't listen to friends, other actors, the director. And here were all these people, writers. One would start and say, listen, when you do the line such and such, try this instead of the way you're doing it. Okay, you go to the next one. The way you're doing that, oh God, that's the funniest way to do that. That's fabulous, keep it in. And you go down the line like that, and you didn't know what to do. So I said to David Spade, what do you do? He said, you do what you want. Okay.
And you did.
I did.
All right, now why did you immediately say Love Thy Neighbor?
It was one of my favorite shows I ever did because I got to do some physical comedy, and it was very fun. It was about a black couple and white couple living next door to each other. And Ron Masak played my husband.
Ron Masak?
Yeah.
The sheriff from...
Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote. Thank you, yeah. Used to play golf with Ron in the Frank Sinatra golf tournament.
Oh, yeah.
He's hysterical.
He is funny.
He
doesn't stop.
No, he doesn't stop. That's
yeah. He just kidding. You think I'm bad? Oh, boy. I don't get a word in edgewise. But, and Janet McLaughlin and Harrison Paige played the black couple. And it was all All in the Family. It was all very racial. I don't know if it would go today because we even did a minstrel show. So I don't think it would.
No, All in the Family, they couldn't do All in the Family or the Jeffersons today.
But there was one scene where they're coming for dinner, and he says, honey, I brought a watermelon for dessert. And I said, oh, no, you can't do that. So, and I've got a long hostess dress on, and I have to do the whole show with the watermelon stuck between my legs. But I mean, I was great kind of humor. And what is his name? It's hard. I can look. Hal Cooper was the director. And it was number 3 in the nation. And they took it off. And there was a whole article in Newsweek about it. They took it off because Julie Harris, one of my all-time favorite actresses, was coming on to do a show called Over the Pickle Factory. That show bombed, and they put us back on. It was ABC, and it was Marty Starga who cast me in that. He cast me in the lead in that one. But it was at ABC. The joke we came back on. They didn't give a new time slot. They didn't do any PR. They switched everything.
And so you had lost your audience.
Yeah, and at the time, the joke was, if you want to get rid of the Vietnam War, put it on ABC. That was a joke because the shows were you couldn't find out where to look for what you wanted.
So what year was that on television?
That was about 7. I have to go by children's ages. 72, 73, right in there.
Back when television could be edgy.
Yes, when you were allowed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do that stuff anymore.
No.
So I want to ask you something about acting, kind of a mechanical question.
Okay.
How easy was it for you to memorize lines?
It is very easy, including now, thank heavens. I just get into the character. And I memorize lines by learning one page. And when I've learned that page, I go to the next page, learn that one, then go back and do the first and second page, and the third one, then I do the first, second, and third page. But I don't know why. It's easy. With my dyslexia, I've had to learn different coping skills for that.
Such as?
Well, I read very slowly, but then if with dyslexia, you learn the best by a multi-sensory approach, which just means say it, do it, feel it, be it. And because I've had to do that, it's what you do when you're acting. And it's kind of moment to moment. I always, when I've lectured about dyslexia at the different schools and colleges across the country, I always say, teach the children drama, because it means something. They're not just black letters on a white page. They have meaning. And once you have meaning, it means something. You can connect it all together.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so good, I think, on Password. I won Celebrity Password because it's mnemonics. I have to think of one word to get to another. So what could be better than doing Password?
Yeah. Who was the host of the version you were on? Password.
Alan Ludden. And we did a play together. We did Critics'
Betty
Choice.
White's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did Critics' Choice together.
I didn't even know he was an actor. Alan Ludden.
I think
apparently he was.
Apparently he wasn't. I think it's
maybe. So he was a great game show host, huh?
Is this on a slant? Or it's the wallpaper. It makes you feel very weird here.
So what you're saying, as an actor, he was a wonderful game show host.
Yes.
Wonderful.
He was.
Talk about your kids.
Oh, I love my kids. First of all, I have 3 that I birthed, and then a whole bunch, 7, that I got from these wonderful husbands. And we are like the United Nations of families. We're all very close. We celebrate holidays together, birthdays together, the Super Bowl together, everything. And my son, Charlie MacArthur, is a professional ski instructor and goes all over the world teaching other instructors how to teach, and also has the Aspen Kayak Academy, and he teaches kayaking, and he does some pretty dangerous things that I don't even like to know about.
You don't want to know. Some of your kids went into showbiz.
Only one. John Asher is a writer, producer, director, actor.
And he had some success.
He has, and he's at home now at his edit bay at home. He has a whole edit bay where he's editing his new movie, and that should be exciting. It's a departure for him. It's a love story, and he's been showing me some of the scenes. Are pretty hot.
Ooh. Are you going to be cast in it?
I did a cameo in it.
Really?
Yeah, just fun. I love being directed by him, but that's the most nervous I am because I don't want to mess up.
You might have to move back into the house.
Right. And Mary has 2 beautiful grown children, and she really wanted to be a mom, and she's been the best. And then she's done some interior design work, and she's just about done every job you can have in Aspen.
Yeah. I want to finish up here in our last few minutes by talking about something that was really special to me, and that was the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about the experience of being around those amazing people?
What was the most amazing about that show was the writers.
Yeah.
They were, you'd read a script and it was perfect, but you'd come back the next day and it was shining more perfect. They never stopped working on their scripts. And the cast, of course, was fabulous. Everybody was great and wonderful to work with. It was just a great environment.
And did you know right then this is something special?
I didn't. It was already special, I think, by the time I got on.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was just wonderful. I was cast because I'd done a show on the first Bill Cosby show where he played a basketball coach, and I played a school guidance counselor. And Ed Weinberg wrote the episode I did, and he wanted me for the show from that episode.
That was an amazing show, and you had an amazing character on it. It was really, really a lot of fun
She
to
was
watch.
fun.
Yeah.
I was kind of straight. I couldn't be on it all the time because I was doing the Cosby Show and Love Thy Neighbor, and doing that. So I think they got Georgette to be Ted's wife because they needed the husband-wife thing. Yeah.
What was it like being on set with Ted Baxter?
He was hysterical. Not only that, he lived across the street from me.
Really?
And we played tennis together. I tell you, I couldn't return his serves, not because he was a good tennis server, but because of the wind-up he did.
Can you see Ted Knight doing? I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
It's so funny.
He's, I mean, what a gifted comedic actor. But you watch him on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and he so embodied that character. And I've known a few anchor people who are exactly like that.
Care to share any names?
No,
Current
absolutely
names?
no. I wouldn't ever. I haven't had nearly enough Jack Daniels for that. But
As
it's really
an
funny
anchor, they're a
because,
great guest game show host.
but you watch that show and you think, this is so absurd. It's just ridiculous. And then you're in a newsroom like, wow, it's not that absurd at all. But then he was so good in Caddyshack. I mean, he's just one of the great moments, the
So
foil
funny.
to Rodney Dangerfield in that movie.
Oh, that hat looked good on you.
You're going to bowl of soup with that.
Well, because I go off the show and come back, everybody seemed to become more of their characters as I came back in person.
Really?
And Ted, I remember I came back when he said, "Hello, George." I said, "Ted?" And he said, "Listen, they redid my dressing room. Would you like to look at what they did? They did a good job." And he was just, sure.
Like, is this in the script? What's going on?
No. It was really funny.
And I also thought it was remarkable how they took Ed Asner's character and then turned him into a very serious journalism character after the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Like,
yes,
it was a really interesting, because he was such a comedic. I've had news directors like him too, but
Care to name any?
no.
Current?
Blue.
He was naughty as he got older. Very naughty. We did, Gavin and Ted and I did something at the Disney Ranch here for a whole group of fans. He had to we had to do this. Put my hand over his mouth.
Ed was a
No.
So
All
what
right.
brought you to the desert?
Well, living in Colorado, Roger and I sometimes would want to get warm in the middle of the winter, and we'd come here, and we would rent for a while, and then go back, and we did that several times, and then Roger had a spill on the ice once, and I was getting nervous about that, and I said, "Why don't we just move there?" And I remember we bought something in Marrakech, and Roger was in charge of making sure that the golf course was okay, that we weren't going to get golf balls.
Right.
He was a golfer. And the first day, so we got this house, and the first morning, I said, "Oh, honey, we just think where it's warm, we can have our coffee out on the patio and just be in our pajamas, And I said, "So I'm going to get a coffee ready," and I have my coffee, and I opened the shutters, and I went, "Go back!" And I closed the shutters. We were on the first green. I mean, the send-off.
The tee box?
Yes.
Yeah.
So all the golfers were right there.
They were right.
Staring at you.
I would have had to say, "You care for a cup of coffee?"
Well, you wouldn't get golf balls in the patio that way. They're going the other direction. I mean, he chose well.
He chose well, but he didn't realize it a thing.
Not
And
much privacy, but
not at all.
And so eventually you started putting on clothes before you opened the curtain.
Eventually.
No, we put it on the market. And got another house. We did. So that's how we got here.
That's awesome. We love having you here in this desert. It's fantastic. And
Thank
loved
you.
having you here on this show today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I don't like it on the news now when people are there and they're guests and they say, "Thank you for having me." Let's say, what does that mean? Thank you for having me.
Well, I was going to say thanks for being here, but
thanks for being here seems perhaps more appropriate.
Thank
I
you.
should say welcome.
I was going to say thank you for inviting me.
You are always invited. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
What a delightful way to spend a podcast.
Thank you.
So many great stories.
Thank you, John.
And please pick up Joyce's book, My Four Hollywood Husbands, because it's a great book and it's full of good life lessons, and it is a heartfelt tale as
There's
well.
some important stuff in there.
Thank you.
And I look forward to hanging out with you at Tools for Tomorrow and whenever we can hang out.
Yes, absolutely. And at the Steinway Society.
That's right. Yes, yes. And we're going to have to cook dinner for people for that one.
You're going to cook dinner, I heard. I'm just showing up and eating.
That's the best gig in town.
Holy cow. I got to talk to Phyllis about it. The deal gets worse and worse all the time. Now, this has been an absolute delight. Joyce Bulifant, our guest, and, of course, my co-host, Randy Florence. Welcome, Randy. John McMullen, our producer. And
Welcome.
A rogues gallery of guests here today. Just came in to check out the podcast.
Isn't that nice? Oh,
I don't want to tell Skip that every guest in the bar was here to see the podcast.
Very briefly, that was true. Now there are other
Nice.
patrons, but we're a real draw.
We are.
I mean, for, a middle of the afternoon.
We got Joyce here.
We got Joyce here, so that's the most important thing. Thanks for
you.
joining us on this edition of Big Conversations, Little Bar, and keep it tuned to your favorite podcast platform. We'll have another episode out very soon.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations, Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Paige's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, the center of the Coachella Valley Universe. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com or from most major podcast portals, including Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Music.